Episode 4, Uncle Ron and stuff. Today, it's Tower of Babel. And I don't know if you know this was a biblical thing, I think it was. The Tower of Babel, all these people on the earth, they all knew how to speak the same language, and they decided that they would build this tower that stretched all the way up to God. I think they were trying to show how powerful and organized they were and something, and they were going to, I don't know, maybe somebody's going to climb up to the top and say hello to God or something. But that was the idea. And they kept building and it went higher and higher. and God in his wisdom said, no, 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 wait, that's, you, you got the wrong idea here. So he, excuse me, accidentally put various peoples with different languages. So now they couldn't like organize and continue, the laborers and the management didn't speak the same language. So they couldn't go any farther. But the Tower of Babel, for some reason, I adopted as some sort of model, or, model's a good word, of my ethics, morals, beliefs. I don't know, that intangible sort of stuff. Ethics, morals, beliefs, whatever. And that as I accumulated more experiences, the tower got higher. They talk about levels of consciousness. Okay, well, the only way to get to a higher level of consciousness was to build about Tower of Babel. So, I would get up, I would add things and experiences, and my tower would get higher. And then I would get to a certain point where the base wasn't wide enough to build anything on top. It's like Lego bricks, if you don't have a real wide waist, if you don't have a real wide waist, you can't like support. Okay, so broken head. I said an earlier one that I had broken my head years ago. Actually, I've done it. It's happened to me several times. It's my fault. And usually they're associated, well, not always, but associated with the Tower of Babel problem. I can't add any more because my base isn't wide enough. Well, the only thing I can do then is tear it all down and make the base wider, and that is not a fun experience. I don't like doing it. It's a horror show for me and everybody around me. But uh, the last time it was interesting because I got down all the elements that I'm talking about, my knowledge and I don't know, emotions, ethics, morals, my persona, my self-identity, all that stuff was all out of the way. I'm on bare sand. It was sand. So I scratch and I dig and I start digging and I dig. I got to find bedrock. Now I'm going to make it on bedrock this time. I'm going to make it really wide at the bottom so I can keep adding stuff at the top and get to those higher planes of consciousness. Okay, so I'm digging, and I finally hit bedrock. And I'm Indiana Jones. I'm taking my brush and I'm cleaning off the stone. And it was really interesting because there, chiseled in stone, it said, others before self. Who knew? Bedrock. Anyway, that whole head break was to tear down who I was and rebuild it. And I guess you can go to therapy, and maybe that's what they try to do. I don't know. But self-identity is really important, and your ethics and morals. I had a psychology course assignment to write where did all my ethics and morals come from. Okay, so I suspect most people said, okay, well, my parents and my religion and maybe some friends and maybe a brother. I don't know. That was a typical. They wrote down like 6 words and handed it in. Well, I mulled over it and I started writing stuff, and I couldn't wrap my arms around it. I wasn't even sure I knew what those things meant. morals, ethics, self-identity. I don't know. So I wrote and so anyway, time come to deliver the paper, and I just took a big cardboard box in with all. It must have had 500. No, I'm exaggerating. It must have been 150 pages of starts and stops and fits and anyway, I figured for sure, this is a fail, fail. But the professor, being who he was, he appreciated my efforts anyway and gave me an A, even though I don't know if you're like me or not, something like that, if I can't solve the problem, it gets stuck in here someplace in memory. So periodically, when there's nothing going on here or out there or in my nose or something, it works on that kind of problem. Okay, so I don't know how long I've been working on it. That's what led to the Tower of Babel. Was maybe 10, 15 years of it periodically getting pulled into a processor and being worked on, and said, well, where did all this stuff come from? Do I even have any? You know, beliefs are a big pile of. We all have a big pile of beliefs. Anyway, that's Broken Head, Tower of Babel. And the one last thing today was, and it all relates, maybe it doesn't, was you know how the sun forms, there's particles land in space, and uh, mass particles like to come together over me. They attract each other. And over a long, long time, which is universe is like a long, long time, they come together, they start forming, and they make a ball, or balls, because that's the least energy radiating sort of structure you can have. And as this more stuff gets drawn in, obviously it has more gravity, so more stuff gets drawn in, and it gets compressed in there, but this little stuff is wiggling around in there, and it's also got energy with it, because Einstein said energy is mass times the speed of light squared. So it's got energy to it, and so keeps getting compressed because more and more gets drawn in, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter until finally it starts what's called fusion, and it takes hydrogen and starts making heavier elements, adds electrons to the shell. Anyway, I used to think that if I acquired enough knowledge and understanding, whatever, it would be like gravity pulling it in, and if I accumulated enough, I would eventually, a night, like fusion would start, and I would understand what all this is about and where we are. Now talk about a dumb idea. Walking around in the middle of the field one night looking at the stars. Where are we? What is this place? I walked straight into a horse. He was sleeping, standing up. I walked straight into him. Bang. And what a big beast he is, and it's like, right back to reality. And I'm not sure that the horse is where we are or anything, but warning. So don't do what I did. Don't do any Tower of Babel model. Don't try to get enough knowledge that you know what the answer is, because you're not going to find it. But anyway, you can break your head if you don't do it. I can give you the recipe, but I doubt that you'd want it. But those are some of the elements. Okay, so that's the background. That's Ron. That's really not stuff. And this is the end of episode 4 on the 2nd of December and the year 2020. And it's cold outside.